Welcome to Be Whole, Be Well, and Be Wise, the show that combines science based and Bible based education to direct you towards whole body wellness in Christ. I'm Shelly Tyler, and today we are going to talk about how to heal from the inside out and how your joy is affected by your gut health. So, don't want to miss this because this week we are going to be kicking off the Gut Health Challenge. Starting September 18th, we're going to have 5 days in a row where I'll be producing education 5 nights in a row on how to jumpstart your gut health. So give this podcast a listen and you're off to a great start. Let's go. Thank you for joining me today. I love talking about gut health because I think it's one of the foundational things that we need to understand for some of our overall health in the culture and the world that we live in. If you did not listen to my last podcast on gut health about the 5 R's of restoring gut health, please go back and listen to that. You will glean tons of information as we move into our fall gut health challenge. Just a little disclaimer. This information I'm going to present today is for educational and informational purposes only and solely as a self-help tool for your use. So I'm not providing you specific educational or psychological or nutritional therapy advice, and don't use this advice to diagnose or treat any health illnesses without consulting your own practitioner. I say that because gut health isn't just this straightforward, this is how you treat it. Gut health is very complex and multifaceted. So, the information today that I'm going to give you is specifically targeting how gut health impacts your joy. So, from the inside out, how your gut health, the inner workings of your gut, how they're impacting your feeling of joy. Now, go back and make sure that you listen to some previous podcasts on what joy is and how we experience joy for this to all come together. But know there are some holes in this presentation because I'm trying to target it specifically to that aspect. So if you're struggling with feeling happy, if you're struggling with feeling content, if you're struggling with feeling joy, this is the right place for you because I'm going to tell you why all of this is interconnected together. So, in order to fully understand how what you eat and how you process food impacts your joy, you have to understand the gut brain axis. So, that is the communication pathway that connects the gut and the brain. It involves a very complex network of nerves and hormones and signaling molecules that allow the gut and the brain to communicate with one another. It's very, very important to understand this connection because it plays a role in regulating a number of bodily functions, including digestion, metabolism, and immune function. The gut is the home of trillions of microorganisms, and these are collectively known as the gut microbiome, and it plays a key role in the communication pathway from the gut to the brain. The gut microbiome, it helps regulate the production of neurotransmitters, hormones, and other signaling molecules that are involved in the gut-brain axis. I'm going to say that again. The gut microbiome, the environment inside your gut, good bacteria, bad bacteria, all the things involved there, helps regulate the production or the making of neurotransmitters, hormones, and other signaling molecules involved in the gut brain axis. So, if your gut is out of whack, you can't produce some of these neurotransmitters, hormones, and signaling molecules that help you feel a certain way or help you start another cascade of events that help you feel a certain way. The gut and the brain are connected by a very important nerve, the vagus nerve. It's the 10th cranial nerve. It's a large nerve that runs from the brain stem to the abdomen, and it carries signals in both directions. So it allows the brain to influence the gut and the gut to influence the brain. So that is why when we're completely stressed out, we could feel some yuckiness in our gut. We could feel bloating. We can feel nausea. It can trigger those feelings of pain or discomfort. And vice versa. When the gut is inflamed, it can send signals to the brain that trigger those feelings as well. So it's really crazy how they interplay off of each other, influencing emotions and digestion and appetite and all the gut functions. So, research has shown us that disruptions in the gut brain axis contribute to a range of health problems, including GI disorders, which is obvious, mood disorders, and even neurological conditions because of all that neurotransmitter hormone disruption that takes place. So, the gut microbiome produces a number of neurotransmitters and other signaling molecules that are involved in the regulation of mood and emotions. And these include serotonin, dopamine, and GABA. So we're going to dive into those just a little bit. So serotonin, dopamine, and GABA are probably words that you've heard at some point in your life, but maybe don't fully understand what they mean. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter involved in mood regulation, appetite, and sleep. So 90% of serotonin is produced in the gut. So if your gut microbiome is out of whack or disbalanced or has a dysbiosis, that's what that word would mean, is disbalanced, imbalanced, or dysbiosis, then 90% of your serotonin is disrupted, which means that's why you could have interrupted sleep or depressive moods or difficulties with overeating or appetite. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is involved in pleasure and reward. So every time something good happens, you get that dopamine hit. Every time you do something that you love, you get that dopamine hit. It is produced in the gut as well. So if your gut has a dysbiosis, then you're going to lack that dopamine that gives you that feel good hormone, that feel good feeling when something happens that is supposed to be pleasurable. GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So that means it turns off a function. Other neurotransmitters turn on things like dopamine and serotonin. GABA turns off a function, and it helps regulate anxiety and stress. It helps turn those off, damper them, downregulate your system. The gut is involved in the production of GABA. So, in this picture, if you have a microbiome that is in dysbiosis, you have neurotransmitter that's supposed to regulate your anxiety that's not working. So, anxiety and stress are up. You have a neurotransmitter that's supposed to make you feel happy, but it's down. And then you have a neurotransmitter that's supposed to help you sleep good, not overeat, and make sure that your mood is regulated, and it's down. So you can see the picture of a dysbiotic gut is that you have high anxiety, high stress, low happiness, low sense of pleasure, enjoyment, disrupted sleep, which comes with a whole nother host of problems, inability to regulate your mood, and overeating. Now, many of you might say, like, oh, you just described me. That's okay. The biggest thing that I want people to know about this situation is that A, it's pretty common, and B, no, you're not going crazy. There's a physiological reason that you are feeling the way that you're feeling. And we have to fix the dysbiotic gut problem in order to fix some of the mood and weight issues and feelings of depression and feelings of anxiety. We have to start at the root of the cause. And for many people, that is in the gut. So we want to think about, okay, yes, if that's you, what are some things that you can do? What are some things that you can actively do to balance your system out? We want to think about, how can I influence the joy and improve happiness in my life? The first step is to balance your gut microbiome. That is the first step. If you have a dysbiotic gut microbiome, then it's hard to go further. It's hard to take the next step. So, how I look at the gut microbiome is I run a comprehensive stool analysis test. And what that test tells me, in conjunction with your other testing, is it tells me what kind of bacteria is in your gut. Are they good bacteria? Are they bad bacteria? Do you have any candida? What's your pH like? Do you have any signs of chronic inflammation? Do you have any signs that are telling me that underlying there is a deeper issue going on causing this? Do you have leaky gut? If so, to what degree? Gives us such a good, clear picture of what is going on inside the gut at that level. You combine that with some of your other testing that tells us your genetic predispositions and that tells us what those building block proteins are doing and all the underlying mineral deficiencies, and if you have any toxins that are present, then we start to understand how to fix that problem. It's really important here that you don't guess. Um, I say that lovingly as possible because people just like, okay, I'm going to go out and get some probiotics and make it all great. I don't think that's the best fix for everybody, which is why in my gut health challenge, I'm not having everybody buy a probiotic, because probiotics are good when they're used at the appropriate time with the appropriate people in the appropriate way. If you have SIBO, for instance, which is a small intestine bacterial overgrowth, I would treat that very differently than if you didn't have SIBO. And we don't know that unless we do some gut testing, because there are clues within that gut testing that tell us that you might have SIBO. So, if you just go out and blanketly try to treat yourself with some of the supplements, you could possibly make things worse without knowing. Other people will go out and eat fermented foods, prebiotic foods. Those also can be very beneficial for some people. They can also be very harmful for other people, especially if you have SIBO. So you need to know what is going on in your gut. You need to know if you have parasites. There's different strength of things that we need to take to be able to get that bad stuff out of there. You need to know if you have candida. Do you need to be starving it with not eating sugar? You have all the pieces of the puzzle just by looking at some functional testing. Now, if you do all the functional testing, but you're not willing to make lifestyle changes, then it's a waste. It's a whole waste of time, money, and energy if you just want the information. I encourage people only get the testing if you're willing to make some severe changes in order to balance that gut microbiome, because it takes work to be able to do that. The second thing, after you're working on balancing the gut microbiome, you want to balance your blood sugar. This is important. Just think about if you're eating foods that spike your blood sugar every hour in the day or every couple hours, you're taking your body on a roller coaster. And that is super, super just counterintuitive to what we really need to be doing. If we want to heal, and we want our gut to heal, and we want our hormones to heal and our neurotransmitters to be appropriately produced, we need as steady of a homeostasis as possible, as steady of a state that we can get. So we want to balance our blood sugar. You can look at low FODMAP diets, look at low glycemic index diets that could help you eat a little bit more even kill so you're not spiking your blood sugar every time that you eat and taking your body on a wild ride. Um, Another easy thing that you can do is to get 20 minutes of natural sunlight first thing in the morning. It helps boost those natural hormones, and it also helps get your circadian rhythm into the appropriate cycle, and it's very calming to your system at the same time. So, if you want to change your lifestyle into a joy lifestyle, then going outside the first 20 minutes and getting that natural sunlight in the morning are going to give you a advantage that is cheap, it's free, and doesn't take that long to do. It will then lead you to my next point, which is getting on a regular sleep wake cycle. We've balanced that microbiome. We're giving serotonin more of a chance to be produced, then we should be able to start getting into a regular sleep schedule. You're getting out in the sunlight, you're getting that circadian rhythm going. So, if you can intentionally keep yourself on a regular sleep wake cycle, I go to bed at this time, I wake up at this time, then your body will be able to, again, have more of a homeostasis, less of a wild ride, be able to heal. The other things, very important, is to manage stress. Stress, I will say, if you check all the right boxes and you do all the other things that you're telling me, but your stress is chronically high, you're chronically overwhelmed, um, it really cancels out everything else, which is so discouraging considering the culture that we live in, just high production, high stress, go, go, go all the time. It is very countercultural to try to decrease stress, actually, to the point where you're changing your body. So, if you feel burnt out, overwhelmed, anxious, like you have to listen to your body, you have to rest, you have to get there because I know this from experience. If you do not, your body will stop you eventually. Chronic stress is the number one reason for most diseases. Chronic stress is the number one reason for most diseases. It doesn't matter how healthy you are and how much you think you're doing all the right things if you're still chronically stressed all the time. What happens is, when we're under chronic stress for a long period of time, our bodies just eventually break down. Another thing for a joy lifestyle that your gut really, really likes is to exercise regularly. It likes movement. Movement helps the motility. Movement helps your lymphatic system. It helps you with your elimination to get stuff out of there. It helps you to poop regularly and not be constipated. That is super, super important to the whole detoxification system within our body. So you have to move. I recommend that everybody gets outside and tries to move at least 10,000 steps a day, trying to do periodic movements throughout the day, making sure that you're not in a static position at one time. And if you struggle with that, please reach out and let me know because there's so many different ideas just to get your body moving. But the point is, it doesn't have to be high intensity interval training all the time. You just want to get your heart rate up and move your body consistently and regularly. You want to lift things, you want to push and pull things. You don't want your body to deteriorate. You want your body to continue to thrive. So, again, these are like the big overarching points is we have to do those things for our gut to be able to respond appropriately. Now, obviously, on top of those things, we have to eat the appropriate foods. Now, When we're talking about nutrition, I believe nutrition looks different for different people because we are all created differently. We all have different genetic issues. Some people are genetically wired to be able to handle more carbohydrates than others, et cetera, et cetera. So if you were to ask me what diet specifically I recommend, I don't recommend a diet. I recommend eating whole foods and eating how your body best responds. Um, for the context of today, I'm going to talk about foods that you can eat that will naturally boost some of those hormones and neurotransmitters that help you feel the feeling of joy. So these are what I would call joy foods. The only outline, or I guess rule that I have here is that I want them to be 100% organic as much as possible, because if you are eating these foods and they're covered in pesticides, then you are really making your detoxification work overtime. So there's that. The other thing is that you also have to be mindful that if any of these foods irritate you or bother you, then those aren't the foods for you, and you're causing more uh, inflammation and oxidative stress than actually helping the situation. So keep that in mind as I'm going through this, that this is very, very general information about foods that could help your mood and boost your mood. Anytime we're eating, we want to eat balance. So, proteins, fats, and carbs. You want a good combination and balance of those, being heavier in the proteins and fat section and lower in the carbs. So, let's go through some proteins that can help boost your mood because of some of their qualities. Alaskan wild caught salmon, mackerel, herring, hummus, lentils, walnuts, um, lean proteins like chicken and turkey. Those are all mood boosting proteins. Notice that they are, a lot of them do have good quality fat component as well. So you're some double dipping there. And notice that Alaskan wild caught salmon, I said, is on the top of the list because of those omega 3s. And we know that your brain loves omega 3s. It nourishes your brain. It helps put out the fires. It helps decrease inflammation. So, as much as you can boost your omega 3 level, the better. As far as the fats, put the fatty fish and the walnuts in this category too. You could do canned coconut milk, olive oil that's extra virgin and cold pressed, avocados, olives, macadamia nuts, Brazil nuts, pecans, almonds, and ghee. Those are all healthy fats that will help nourish your brain, nourish that gut brain axis. Now, carbs, these are not probably the carbs that you hope, I would say, but we have to think about a lot of fruits and vegetables are carbohydrates. So, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, blackberries, um, that have those antioxidant properties. Oranges, lemons, limes, grapefruits, cherries, peaches, plums, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and cabbage, yellow or red peppers, pumpkins and squash and carrots, spinach, tomatoes, sweet potatoes, your deep leafy greens, and brown rice. There's so many options. So if you're trying to create a meal plan tonight for supper, you could pick something out of each of those categories. If you're struggling with your mood or depressive moods or anxiety, Alaskan wild caught salmon with some Brussels sprouts and some pecans and avocados, that could be a very healthy, well balanced meal for you to have for supper tonight. Now, there are some foods that I would say you want to leave off your list if you're struggling with mood. We don't want to say like foods are bad, like these foods are bad, and shame you for eating them. But I will say these foods will make you struggle a little bit more with your depressive mood if you eat them, or with your anxiety if you eat them. And there's a huge ramp up in how people feel as far as their feelings of joy when they leave them out. So that includes gluten, caffeine, sugar, alcohol, trans fats and saturated fats, and soy products. It's not a long list, but I would be lying if I said it wasn't a hard list, right? Because there's a lot of things on there that people are like, no, don't take that away. But if you're drinking caffeine every day and you struggle with anxiety, your system is already ramped up. You're pouring fuel on the fire with that caffeine. So it's just not the best decision for your body. And you may not feel it at the time, but it does affect you, and it does affect your mood later on. It does affect your sleep later on. It does impact those tight junctions in your gut. So it's just really not worth it. If you can't go cold turkey, you can always try to wean down as much as possible and do the best that you can. But I do think you have to be conscious that these things can bother you. Um, if I were to give you parameters for how to eat, I would say these things. Try to get at least 20 grams of protein per meal. You can have 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar prior to your meal to aid as a digestive enzyme. To eat at least 35 grams of fiber per day, and to try to eat the rainbow. So all the foods, different colors of the rainbow. So trying to have a red food, an orange food, a yellow food, a green food, a blue food, a purple food. You're going to get a wide variety and range of vitamins and minerals out of those different colors of food. If you're always eating the same color, you could be kind of pigeonholing yourself into one category. So it's just, again, general information that can be super helpful when you're just like overwhelmed with meal planning because you feel overwhelmed and anxious already. It's just, let's keep it simple. Pick 20 grams of protein per meal out of that protein list. Pick a fat, pick a carb, take a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar before you eat it, and make sure that you're eating plenty of fiber. So, um, and then like just varying the vegetables that you eat every day, the fruits and vegetables. So you're getting a variety of minerals, and it doesn't have to be super complex. People do get in the habit of eating the same thing every single day. If you have a leaky gut and you're struggling with your mood, you are kind of setting yourself up for some food sensitivities and an inflammatory response to different foods just because you're eating the same thing every single day. Um, People ask me all the time, like, about supplements. I do recommend supplements to a degree. I will recommend supplements that are, in general, safe for most people to take, like on social media or in this realm on a podcast. But specific recommendations for supplements, they have to be very much tailored to the specific person and their specific need. I use a variety of brands. I think there are a lot of really good brands out there. You can always visit my pharmacy with an F, Fiddlewood Pharmacy, to be able to see all the different things that I do carry online. Um, but it's there because I want to recommend the things that I know that work and that they are effective. I don't want you to just go out to a store and buy some random thing and flush it out of your system, something that isn't going to be effective. So, for this purpose, when I'm talking about joy, there are certain supplements that can help you improve that feeling of joy. Now, in order to give these recommendations, I almost have to split things up into different categories. Some people have depression with like this just lethargy, just tiredness, can't go on. Um, I would say for that group, I would recommend something than someone who has a depression with stress, because they just appear very different. So let's talk through depression with lethargy. I could safely say that L-tyrosine would probably be a good supplement that you could add in. Again, always check with your medical provider before adding anything, because supplements do have herbals, and herbals do sometimes interact with other medications. If you have depression with anxiety, 5-HTP could be something very helpful for you. If you have depression with stress, then GABA could be very helpful for you to try. Um, all of these types would recommend from some basics. Omega-3 fish oils, magnesium, a B complex, and amino acids. Every single person, I feel like, would benefit from those things if you are experiencing depression, anxiety, and stress. So, again, take those as you want, just as general recommendations of things to explore. They are not specific recommendations overall, they are just general recommendations. Um, if you want to know more about your gut health and how it is functioning, you could do a KBMO food sensitivity test at home. This test tells you how your gut lining is responding to the foods that you're eating and which foods are probably aggravating your gut lining. So with that, you're going to want to eliminate those foods that are irritating your gut lining and take them completely out of your diet so that you're not causing an inflammatory response every time you eat, in hopes that we can heal the gut lining so that you can produce your hormones and neurotransmitters again. There's another really important aspect to this, and that is nitric oxide. If you didn't hear my nitric oxide talk, you can look on YouTube and find that. It's just a short one, but I definitely recommend that you test your nitric oxide. So there are some human, that's HUMANN, nitric oxide strips that you can test at home. You test your nitric oxide, you see what color it comes back as. You go eat some root vegetables like beets or spinach, and then you retest it 90 minutes later and see if it improves. And that tells you how your nitric oxide levels are in your body and if you are able to improve that, because without nitric oxide, we really are going to struggle with our mood. So, again, those are two easy at home tests. If you want to start with just adjusting your diet, I definitely recommend. I recommend the resource by Dr. Earl Henslin called This Is Your Brain on Joy. So he gives a program for balancing your mood and restoring your health and nurturing your spiritual growth. He is a Christian who is a neuroscientist, and it is a fantastic read because it really digs in deep to all the areas of the brain that could be affecting you. Like, some of you may not generally deal with depression, but you might deal with anger. And so that could look very different for you. What could help you improve your joy if you're struggling more with anger versus you're struggling with depression. So those just are two different, very different areas of the brain altogether. So hopefully that gives you some starting points on how you can heal your body from the inside out, heal your gut, and then start this process of drawing closer to God and rejuvenating your life and rejuvenating your energy and restoring your joy altogether. I hope to see you guys soon at the Gut Health Challenge in my private Facebook group starting September 18th. Bye. Thank you for listening to Be Whole, Be Well, and Be Wise. Make sure to join me on Instagram at shellytyler.dpt and join my private Facebook group Overcoming Overwhelm for Christian Moms, especially this week as we start the Fall Gut Health Challenge on September 18th. Before you go, show some love for your favorite podcast on Amazon, Apple, or Spotify, and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode when I will be joined with Dr. Katie Whetstone when we talk about restoring the joy of purity. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait for you to hear it.